Welcome to today's webinar. It's episode 3 in our Marketing MOT series, and the title of today's webinar and the topic we'll be discussing is what to do if you're feeling anonymous and how you can help your business reach top gear and be ready to shout about it. We put the series together because we've been helping businesses large and small for many years now, and they come to us with obviously complex ranges of issues and challenges that they're facing, but often they whittle down to a fairly tight set of common concerns, common challenges. And the idea of doing a marketing MOT is to see perhaps why things are going wrong, what's going on underneath the bonnet. If you can take a closer look at it, chances are you can fix it properly once and for all. I've never been a fan of quick fixes. I think it's often better to find out what the real problem is and see if you can address that fully. So we've put together a webinar series to support the ebook that we created, Your Marketing MOT. And hopefully it's an opportunity to expand upon the things that we've covered in the ebook, but also a chance through a webinar to also have a sort of question and answer. Okay, so today's agenda. We're going to continue looking at the marketing MOT. We'll go over those top 5 worries, marketing worries that businesses face in a moment. Then we're going to look at the marketing mix, the 7 Ps, because this is really what you control inside your business. This is how you get the best combination to attract your customers. It's also how you put together the best combination to deal with your competitors. Then we'll look briefly at customer segmentation and targeting, because that sometimes is an opportunity to see where maybe there's some unmet demand with the people that you already know. And then finally we'll look at what you need to know now. Okay, let's move on. So why do you need to do a marketing MOT? Well, the reality in most businesses, large and small, is that resources are finite. So we call them the 5 M's of marketing. So that's money, minutes, manpower, machinery and materials. And those equate to basically time, the people and the skills that they have within your business, any equipment or capital investments that you need, and materials, whether those are physical materials or intangible materials, perhaps like some information or some data that you really need. So they're always going to be in short supply, and your biggest challenge is always going to be how well you manage those resources. And today we're going to look at 2 of the top 5 marketing worries. So we don't have enough of the right customers, and we don't know what we should be investing in. So we don't have enough of the right customers. Sometimes it's we don't have enough customers, full stop. But once you start to get busy in your business, you realize very quickly that there are, not all customers are created equal. There are some who are going to be better for your business in the long term. Either they're going to be more profitable, they're going to be more loyal, they will refer you to others. Perhaps they will be better payers, they will be a better customer to you. Perhaps they'll be a closer fit to the things that you do really, really well. So that's why we're looking at these right customers. And then thinking about what we don't know what we should be investing in. We'll start that discussion today. We'll continue it in our webinar number 4. But it's really to think about, okay, you've got these finite resources. Where should you be devoting them in your business? So firstly, how do we make people, i.e. potential customers, aware of what we make or do? Because this is really where the anonymity comes from. If you have low brand awareness, that means that people either don't know much about your company, they don't know much about the people within your company, chances are they don't know much about the products and services that you provide. Then you're going to have low awareness, and it matters because people won't automatically think of you. You won't be the first person that springs to mind. So this is an ideal opportunity to look at the marketing mix. Now these are all the ingredients that you can bring together to basically position yourself competitively in the marketplace and really put together the most appealing offering in the most profitable way possible for your business to your customer base. So firstly, do you sell products? Is there a tangible product that you're selling? If so, then we'd probably be looking at the core marketing mix, the original 4 Ps, and that's product, place, price, and promotion. And these are things that are within your control. You can decide what you're going to make and sell. You can decide how you're going to take that to market. You can definitely decide what the price is going to be. And most importantly, promotion is within your control. So that's that original core marketing mix. So first of all, let's look at your products. What are you selling? Is it a tangible product? Are you making artisan food or bread? Are you making apparel or clothing? Are you building cars? Are you building motorbikes? So think about what you're actually making. Is it a tangible product? Obviously, with a tangible product, there are going to be issues around getting your product to market, getting it in front of your customers. An intangible product could be something like entertainment. You could be selling education, you could be selling courses, you could be doing things online, you could even be doing things physically, but they are an intangible product. So if you're in the education space, for example, a core product is the kind of the promise of what you're going to sell to somebody. So your core product could be entertainment. The actual product might be the film that you're putting on. The augmented product might be all the other things around that experience. So it could be parking, it could be refreshments, it could be selling a program halfway through the evening. So you have layers and layers of products. Are you happy with the products that you're selling at the moment? Are they doing well? Because sometimes products can get a little bit stale, and if you're not being very responsive to the marketplace, perhaps if you're not really paying close attention to what your competitors are doing or what your customers are asking for, you might find yourself in a position where some of your products aren't doing as well as they used to. This is when you might want to have a look at something like the Boston Matrix. So the Boston Consulting Group developed their matrix about 20 or 30 years ago. And it's something that as marketers, we've used regularly to help us to understand what the portfolio of products are that we have within our businesses. It works just as well for services as well. So chances are you're going to have some really good, strong products in your portfolio. So those might be your cash cows, the bottom left-hand corner. Cash usage means that they don't cost you a lot of money to make. You've invested in the development. It's something that's already in existence, and you know that there's still a market for it. So it's a good cash generator. You want to have as many cash cows as possible. On the right-hand side, you might be looking at your dogs. And unfortunately, in this case, dogs aren't something that we love. Dogs are products that they might not be using an awful lot of cash, but really, they're not really generating much income either. And your dogs are probably the ones that you're looking to divest. So that might be a product line that you're either looking to mothball, or you might be looking to develop into something new. So maybe it's the time for the next generation for that product group. If we look top right hand corner, we've got your question marks. So these are the ones that are they're not really making much money for you, but they're costing a lot of money to either bring to market or to actually create. Now, sometimes with those kinds of products, you have to step back and think about, is it a product that actually, although it's not making you much money, it's very popular with people in terms of its front of mind. So it might be something that you don't really sell very often, but everybody knows that you do it, and they know it's something that you're known for doing. This might be where you might be looking at something like a loss leader, where it's quite an expensive product to produce, but actually you're going to sell it quite inexpensively in order to sort of gain market share. Then top left-hand corner is your rising stars. So this might be something that's quite new, might be something that you're going to develop as well. So this could be something in the future, but your rising stars will, they might cost quite a bit to produce, but the potential for lots of income, lots of sales, and lots of market share growth are there. So where do your products fit at the moment? If you were to sit and put them into these different boxes, where would they be? Because each of those is going to need a different mix, a different marketing mix to support it. Your rising stars, for example, you can charge a higher price for those than you can for your dogs. Your cash cows, you might be able to increase the prices on those very slowly. You might have, the ability to do that. Your question marks, that might be where, you're looking to see how long something's going to last and looking to move on. So what does place mean within the mix? Well, place is where you make your goods and services available for purchase. Now, you may or may not sell directly to your customers. If you don't sell directly to your customers, then marketing and advertising and PR and promotions probably don't really figure for you. You might do a lot of business development, you might do a lot of relationship management, but actually you don't need to do a lot of marketing because your distributors know what you do. But if you're selling to customers, then you need to make yourself available. You need to make yourself findable. So whether your customers are other businesses and other organizations, or they are members of the public, how will people find you? Well, if your customers are online, then chances are they will expect to find you as part of their research process. So they might start with a need or something that they're trying to achieve. Could be something nice, could be a holiday. It could be a challenge, i.e. need a bit of software that's going to solve them a problem. So it isn't always a positive starting point for them. But chances are that they are going to do quite a lot of research online. So they might find your website, and they might find a competitor's website. They might go into social media and get a sense of what kind of business you are, what kind of people you are, what's the tone and the personality of your brand. Because that's the best role a lot of the time for social media. It's having a personality for your brand. Can they find you online easily? Do you answer their questions on your website? So if you're online, how easy are you to find? If you're offline, if you sell in person, are you just selling at market stalls? Are you selling through retailers? Because if that is the case, then you have a kind of, there's an infrastructure that's needed, machinery, materials around you actually getting your goods to market. So what you may find is that although you can create something and you can make something that's really, really good, it costs you so much to actually get that to your customers, either through retail outlets or postage and packing. It doesn't make it viable. So place is a big cost for your business. So think about how you're actually going to get your goods and services to market. Price will be determined largely by supply and demand. So if something is in short supply, chances are if there's high demand for it as well, you can decide what price you want to charge. If you flip that on its head, if supply is plentiful and demand is moderate, you might find that it's a very price competitive space. You maybe even have to have dynamic pricing as well. So chances are that even if you even if you think your competitors don't know what you charge, they will do. Your customers need to know what you charge. They need to know what the price is. They certainly need to know what the value is. And I think this is often a difficulty for businesses, whether you're making goods and products or providing services, is knowing what to charge. And that's something that we deal with in a lot more detail in the next webinar. So supply and demand will largely dictate what you can charge for your products and services. And you may decide also that you're going to have a kind of fixed pricing and flexible pricing. So there may be some part of your product mix where, you know, this is what you charge and you're not going to budge on it. And then there might be other areas where pricing is flexible. A good example of that would be if you were selling, you were an airline, you're selling air tickets online, you're going to have flexible pricing. The demand fluctuates from day to day. Availability fluctuates from day to day. So very flexible pricing. And I think in recent years we've come to realize that the price of very few things is fixed. There's normally a bit of negotiation, a bit of wriggle room. So you might need to expect that from your customers as well. Do you give discounts for bulk buys? If you're providing a service, do you give a different rate if you're working on retainer? So think about how that works for you. Most importantly, your price needs to include enough margin to cover your costs and then some. It's got to cover your costs and then some. There's got to be enough income for you and your employees. There needs to be money to invest in marketing. There needs to be money to invest for the future. And the issue that a lot of businesses face is that there's very little wriggle room. So promotion is basically how you raise awareness of your brand, that's your business name, and also your products and services. So traditional marketing tactics would include print, so that would be printed materials, brochures, etc. Advertising and PR. Now, PR is an interesting one. A lot of people feel that PR stands for press release, but actually it's public relations. So, in fact, PR is also events and sort of the corporate social responsibility around a business. It could be sponsorship. There are lots of different ways of raising your profile through public relations. You could be exhibiting, you could be going to trade shows, you could be going to market stalls, depending on what you're making and selling. But those are always, they're always worth researching. If you're able to, I would always advise attending a trade show first and walk the floor. See if it's for you, see if the kind of people that you want to reach are going to be there. You may often find that just through networking you pick up all the connections that you need, because some trade shows are really, really expensive. If you're looking at a trade show at the NEC or down in London, for example, you might be paying thousands of pounds for a stand, and unless you're confident that you're going to develop enough business to justify it, then it may not be the best spend of your money. Direct marketing traditionally would be brochures and a sort of postal mail outs going to a mailing list. Sometimes that will be a mailing list that belongs to you. Sometimes you can actually rent a list, or a mailing house will send things out on your behalf. Now, we've kind of moved away from it in recent years, and we've moved away from print and advertising as well because of the cost. The cost of print and the cost of distribution are really high. And unless you're confident that it's the best way to get through to your customer, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. I mean, if you're in the travel industry, people really like a glossy brochure. They still want a glossy brochure. So it may be something that you don't actually have a choice about. But direct marketing is normally done where there's a confidence that you will have a certain conversion rate. It's normally tried and tested. And if it's something that you're thinking of doing on any scale, then it's worth going through one of the mailing houses and getting them to help you, because they're pretty good at setting these things up. Personal selling is basically business development. It could be going out and networking. It could be picking up the phone, speaking to current customers, past customers, asking for referrals, speaking to the people who are in your sales pipeline, emails, keeping in touch with people. You're trying to convert somebody to being a customer. That is personal selling. And that's what the sales team do. It's what your account managers do. And marketers often, I think we often overlook the value of the sales team and that selling process. But that's really where the conversion takes place 9 times out of 10. Then something like telemarketing. Again, rather gone out of fashion in recent years because of the, I suppose, the volume businesses that cold call us and the nuisance calls. But B2B telemarketing can be very, very effective. So those would be your traditional marketing tactics. There are other tactics as well, but this is just a selection. Then you might be looking at digital or content marketing tactics. Now, with digital, there's an expectation that there's going to be some cost involved. Whereas with content marketing, unless you're paying to amplify the reach of the content you've published, it's largely a free activity, and there is a lot of free software in that space, which is why it has become such a popular strategy in recent years, as marketing budgets have gone down and down. So digital would look at websites and search engine optimization. So your website is the main hub. Search engine optimization ensures that you're found for all of the things that you do, all of the things that you are, the things that you stand for as well, and the things that your customer thinks that you do as well. Because especially if you work in an area that's quite technical, you may find that your customers, they call you something completely different, and in fact they didn't know you did half the other things that you do. Social media is an excellent tactic for awareness raising, top of funnel brand awareness. It's also very, very good post-sale, that honeymoon period, because it's often a chance for people to go and mingle with your past customers. So social media is very, very good for those two ends of the funnel. But manage expectations around social media bringing you customers and generating sales. It wasn't meant to do that, and it seldom works in that way. Content marketing looks at ways to educate your customer base, build trust, and gradually attract people towards you online. It's a tactic or a strategy that I've used for the past 5 years to great effect. And I think it's this webinar is an example of content marketing. The ebook that we've created, again, is an example of content marketing. They're free to you, they're free to people to find, free to access. There's no sale involved, there's no selling involved, but it's an opportunity to educate the customer about something that might help them and something that they might want in the future. Then we move into the paid end of your online advertising or your online promotion. So pay-per-click is those little text ads at the top of Google search. People have paid for that spot. If you're looking to do that kind of thing, then you're going to be looking at keyword research. You'll probably be using something like the Google Search Console, the Keyword Planner, and purchasing ads through somebody like the Google network. Likewise, display ads. Now, display ads are also basically the sort of paid social ads that you see. So it's the same type of thing. You're targeting based on a set of criteria, a set of characteristics about this notional customer that you're trying to reach. And then hopefully your ads are served to them at a time when they're ready to buy. E-commerce is when you're selling things online, you're selling things through your website. So you could be an online retailer, you could be selling tangible products, you could be selling intangible products. So if you think of Netflix, for example, Netflix is an e-commerce platform. You pay to view, but in fact, you can access it anytime, day or night, and you can consume entertainment through the platform again anytime, day or night. So e-commerce is always a great opportunity for any business, large or small, to be attracting some custom online. And it's an area that we work on quite extensively with clients, is to see how we can make their sort of online presence, their website, actually generate income for them. Email marketing is permission marketing, as is mobile marketing. So email marketing means that somebody has shared their email address with you, either their personal email address or their work email address, and as long as you send them campaigns that are relevant to them and on message, i.e. not about something completely different to what you do, then you're within the law, and chances are people won't unsubscribe or accuse you of spamming them. Email marketing has a conversion rate of 40 to 1. It is top of the pops in terms of marketing for most businesses. It's something I'm very passionate about. And if you're interested in content marketing, email marketing, or social media, we have free webinars that you can go over and watch on the courses page on the main website. They're just there on the page. You can access them anytime you like. Mobile marketing is could be SMS campaigns, it could be apps, it could be any way to reach your mobile consumer. It could be your mobile-friendly website. But a lot of businesses use text messages as part of their customer services. And it's a really effective way of keeping in touch with people. And it's very inexpensive. Okay, so now you're looking at some of those different tactics in terms of the promotion part of the 7 Ps. So do you sell services? Do you not do products? Are you a service provider? Do you have clients instead of customers? Well, if that's the case, then the basic 4 Ps still apply to you, but you're also going to need to think about the extended marketing mix. And it's quite important, because this is where you, I suppose in a way, this is where you need to get more people involved. So this is going to be your colleagues. It might be yourself, but it's also going to be your colleagues. So the extended marketing mix would include your processes, how you actually manage the customer through your business, from first inquiry all the way through to delivery and out the other end, customer service, sales support, however that works in your industry or sector. People will be the customer-facing staff, the people who are looking after your customers and clients. Physical evidence is I'll explain in just a moment. So, processes. Is your business purely online? It could well be. If you were providing some kind of online service. So, for example, if you're selling insurance online, it could be Compare the Market. They are an online service provider. The process is fully automated. However, there will be rooms and rooms full of people working for that business who are either managing inquiries, because those things are very seldom fully online, or they might be making sure that the information is up to date. So, for example, pricing. Some pricing online is dynamic, which means that there'll be an algorithm, a bit of code that ensures that that price gets changed depending on the number of hits, for example, or linking to prices on a competitor website. But a lot of the time, there will actually be people who are managing the inquiry. They're fulfilling the inquiry. So even a lot of those online travel websites that look as though it's fully automated, often there's a room full of people tapping away furiously on a keyboard. Now, processes are great as long as they work. But the trouble is that a lot of the time the process isn't in place. Or it requires a bit of human involvement. There's a human touch in that process. That person might be busy, or they might be off sick that day, and all of a sudden there's a hitch in the process. The other big problem, of course, is software and software integration. Not all software speaks to other bits of software. And so often you'll find that there's a kind of a barrier in the road between data flowing nicely from inquiry all the way through to fulfillment and delivery. So how do you manage the buyer journey? You might be a much more sort of low-tech business. There might be a lot of emails and letters and telephone calls going on. There might be visits in person. There might be a proposal process and a contracting process and a tendering process. But either way, you're probably going to need to have some software that makes sure, even if it's project management software or managing your sales pipeline, that makes sure that you kind of keep things moving, that you don't let the customer's interest go cold, and that you have a way of seeing what that journey looks like. So some of those processes will be online, some will be offline. People, especially if you're in a service business, people are the most important part of it. And that includes you, that includes me, it includes all the people that we know who are actually looking after their customers and clients. Because you might have worked very, very hard to attract a customer to the business, but if a customer-facing colleague doesn't deliver on that brand promise, they don't meet the customer or client's expectations, you can lose the sale, you can lose the customer. So people are really, really important. And customer service is important. Customer service training is important, but also recruiting the right people in the first place. Now, I would include having the right attitude to customer service as a criteria for anybody who is managing your social media. So if you're looking at team members and deciding who should be looking after Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or any of the platforms that you're on, you need to have somebody who's got a really good attitude to customers, somebody who's helpful, warm, friendly, doesn't react when somebody gets a bit stroppy, you know, and has a good attitude to that role. Then finally, physical evidence. So it's where the rubber hits the road, really. You might have worked really hard. Even your customer-facing colleagues have worked really hard. The customer's having a bad day. They've got out of bed the wrong side this morning, or somebody cut them up on the way to work, and they're in a filthy mood. And in a way, it doesn't really matter what you do or what you have done. They're not happy. But sometimes it's your fault. So physical evidence could be coming into your restaurant and the tables are all covered in dishes and they're unwiped. And they're shown to a table to sit down, but nobody comes and clears the table for 5 minutes. And then it takes them 15 minutes to get a drink ordered, and then an hour to get their meal. The physical evidence of that is that they don't really care about me. They didn't really want my business. And actually, this place doesn't look very clean. I'm not sure how clean the kitchens would be. Physical evidence is going into a shop. On your way home from work, you need an ingredient. It's nothing exotic. And they've run out. And then you go to another place and they've run out as well. So you're really chewed by now because you can't make the dish you wanted to make. That's physical evidence. It's you know, it doesn't matter what everybody else has done, what the promise was. It's the delivery, the point of delivery. Does it meet your customers' expectations? Because actually, if you know for sure that you can't deliver on those things, if you've done everything you can, what you have to do in terms of promotion and in terms of messaging is you have to manage the customer's expectations. And in fact, customers can be very forgiving when service delivery isn't going to be up to par for a while. So for example, you know, nowadays, when there are roadworks on a major road, we're warned for a while beforehand. And then we're given an indication of how long the roadworks are going to go on for. And I suppose, encouragement to find an alternative route. What they're trying to do is manage expectations. They know the physical evidence of being stuck in traffic for 3 hours is horrible and could have a massive impact on your day. So they're giving you the information to say, look, it could be a really bad experience, try and find an alternative route. So sometimes it's good to go back to customers and be honest about where things are failing, and also that, sorry, but they're going to be failing for a little while, but we're aware of it and we're trying to put it right. So I hope that's helped. Looking through the 7 Ps, it's a really fundamental part of marketing. It's one I like very much indeed. And it's one that you, as the business owner, as the marketer, whatever your role is where you work, you have a big influence over this. You possibly have full control over the 7 Ps. You can certainly decide what you want them to be and what combination you're going to focus on. So, looking onto another challenge that businesses face, which is it's akin to low awareness. It is related. Is needing new customers. So we need new customers, but we don't know where to find them, and more importantly, we don't know how to reach them. So I've given a few suggestions on traditional marketing methods and also on some new digital and content marketing tactics. But I think before you start thinking about the sort of the way to reach people, the way to promote your goods and services to them, the first place to start is looking at the data that you have. So a lot of businesses are very good at their marketing. They're really very, very good at marketing. They keep in touch with their customers on a regular basis. They're very thorough. They've got their processes in place. They're trying really hard. So they'll have an up-to-date database. It will be fully populated. It will have the email address of the customer, and it will have information about the size of the business and perhaps what they're interested in. Which of our products and services have they already bought? But if you don't have this information in place, it is the obvious place to start. I often joke about people with shoeboxes full of business cards, but it's because it's true. And not recently, but in the past, I've definitely worked with clients who turned up with a shoebox or several full of hundreds and hundreds of business cards. You know what, if somebody's contact details are stuck on a piece of paper, you're not going to get in touch with them, are you? Unless you're really good at getting on the phone all the time. And depending on what you sell, it might take a really long time for somebody to be ready to buy or ready to buy from you. Especially if it's a service, they might have just bought it from somebody else, or they've just signed a contract and it's going to be 3 years before that contract comes up for renewal. So unless you want to get on the phone to them every 6 months, there might be a more subtle way of keeping in touch with them. But you certainly can't do things like postal mailing or an email campaign if you don't have people's contact details on some kind of spreadsheet or in a database somewhere. So that would be always the starting point. So it's getting your database up to date, and then it would be segmenting your database. Now, if you are thinking about this, and this is something that you know that there's room for improvement within your business, then you might want to go over and look at our other webinar. It's on the main website, and it's called Why Your Email Marketing is Failing and How to Fix It. Because actually a lot of the time people start with the idea that they want to get in touch with people, but they don't actually have enough data. And that's contact data, but it's also knowing who those people are. So segmenting your database is the next stage, but you've got to kind of know who those people are. Are you going to segment them based on geography, age, the type of sector that they're in, the size of business they work in? If it's retail or the consumer market, are you going to look at whether they are buying for the family or they're buying gifts, what the purpose of their purchase was? There's so many different ways of segmenting your data. And every business I've worked with will have their own way of slicing and dicing their database. And yes, there are some kind of standard segmentation models. But you know what? If it's meaningful to you internally and it's meaningful to your customers when you're communicating with them. So if you're sending an email out to a group of people on your database, and it would be relevant to all the people within that group, then you should choose your own segmentation criteria. But either way, you're going to look at all the people that you could be serving, all the people who could be your customers, and then you're going to kind of divide that into groups. And then it's very important to be selective, because you may find that some of your customers would be very expensive to reach, and they may not be sufficiently valuable, sufficiently lucrative in order to justify the expense of reaching them. So for example, if you have an elderly customer base, you may find that the cost of print and distribution, postage and packing, all those sorts of things mean that it's not actually profitable to serve that segment of your market. You might need to find other ways of getting your messages through to those people. I use that as one example because it's often an issue. I work with a lot of charities in the Northeast, and it's often an issue, particularly when we think about harder to reach groups within the community. Short of going and knocking on the door and handing something over and having a conversation with somebody, it's impossible to get through to them. And if you're being paid to do that, then that's great, and you absolutely should do it. It's really important. But if you're running a business and you need to run it profitably, you might need to be a bit more selective. So that's why choosing your target markets is really important, and that can take a bit of time. It isn't something that you should rush at. You need to be quite sort of strategic about it. You might want to go and do some more research. There's lots and lots of free research, free data available online. There are tons and tons of resources. And get in touch if you've got a question about this kind of thing, because I might be able to point you in the direction of something. And then once you've decided who those target markets are, you might pick 2 or 3. Then it's time to profile, or if you're looking at content marketing, which is where you're going to be creating a lot of content, a lot of different types of content to have online. A bit like Hansel and Gretel, people can very slowly find their way back to your website and build their impression of you, build a positive impression. Then you're probably going to be looking at profiling. And profiling will basically give you a kind of a thumbnail of who that target market person is. So then you can look at what you offer, you can look at the services you're offering, the products that you sell. You can look at the price points for all of those things. You might even want to go back and look at your Boston Matrix and see if, is there a market for some of those dogs? Sorry to call them that, but is there a market for some of the question marks within your current database, within your current customer base, or with people that they're on your mailing list but you haven't converted them yet. So it's a chance to match what you have to offer in the most appealing way against the people that you're trying to reach. So if we were to look at something like the Ansoff Growth Matrix, which I love using because it's a nice, easy way of looking at things. I know it doesn't look like an easy way of looking at things, but once you dig into it, it makes a lot of sense. So we might be looking at market penetration. You're going to sell more of the same products and services to the same types of people. So that might even be to people in a geographical proximity to you, or people who come into the same shop. So more of the same to more of the same type of people. So that's pretty low risk. That's where you might just want to be doing some sort of sales promotions. You might want to do some value add or buy one get one free. This is why the big sort of FMCG retailers and producers, this is what they're doing. It's market penetration. You've come into the supermarket to buy a pint of milk, and they've got a bog off on the end of the aisle for biscuits or something, and you think, oh right, well I'll get some of those. It's a kind of easy win. It's a low risk strategy. Medium risk would be product development, so selling new products to existing customers. But chances are that if you have a range or you're developing a range, it might be easier to go back to people who they've already bought from you, they like you, you did a good job for them, they liked the things they had from you last time, the trust is already there. And you can also ask those people what they want, and if they could adapt what they've already had from you, what would it look like? You know, your customers are an excellent source of information about what you should be doing in the future. And actually most of us do that, don't we? You know, we respond to our customers, we respond to what they're asking us for, and we create a new solution for them. Market development would be selling what you're already doing to a new type of consumer. So that might be where you're looking to go into a new market. Now, that's not always so easy, and sometimes you might need to partner up with another business that does really, really well in that sector. So a good example would be, you know, I'm a marketing consultant. I might want to reach out to somebody who does graphic design or website development to see if they have customers for my marketing consultancy services, and these are people that I don't know because they're not part of my networks. And I'm sure all of you can think of people who are already doing really well in a sector that you want to get into. So often there's an opportunity to sort of partner with another company in order to do that. Then the highest risk would be diversification, where you are, it's a completely new product or service to a completely new consumer. Unless you have a portfolio of products and services, if you think back to your Boston Matrix, that gives you a chance to think about where your current sort of portfolio sits. Think about what your strategy is for the coming years. What are you trying to do with what you're currently doing, things that you're developing, new markets you want to get into? I mean, is there anything where you're thinking, actually, we've had a brainwave and we want to do this thing that nobody's ever done before, or we've never done it before, and actually the customer base for this is not our existing customer base. That's where a lot of startups are actually, and I've worked with high-tech startups who are often in this space where they've come up with something really funky. No one can see really that there's an absolute necessity for this new thing, but also they are not tried and tested, and building trust is really hard for them. So in terms of tactics, things to be doing, so market penetration, selling more of the same to the same types of customer would be really get marketing, get communicating, just get out there a bit more, either via email or stuff on your website or in person. Actually just doing a bit more selling, making some offers and packages and doing a bit more promotion will help you with market penetration. New products to existing customers is where you might need to be doing some market research, you might need to be doing some surveys and listening to what your customer base is after. But it's also an opportunity to go back and sell the other things that you do to those existing customers. So again, that would be around, if you want to be doing direct mail campaigns, great. If you want to be doing email campaigns, mobile campaigns, because you've already got the details for those people. You have a customer base. Market development might be where you know, you're looking to get into a new market. That's often where you need to start spending a bit of money. So that would be pay-per-click, it would be display ads, traditional print ads. It could definitely be PR in terms of events, things that raise your profile, sponsorship, especially if it's a sort of geographical thing, sponsoring, you know, sponsorship ads at a football ground or something like that can be quite effective. But it would also be the kind of the PR, the press release, the articles, the press coverage, because that's where you're looking to raise awareness. You already know that the stuff you do is great, but those people don't know who you are yet. And then finally, diversification. New products to new consumers. That's really a space often for something like public relations, but along with content marketing. Content marketing works across the board. It's very effective long-term strategy. But if you have to educate a brand new consumer about a brand new concept, it takes time. And that's really what content marketing is best for. It's the kind of long, slow journey, gradually build trust, build knowledge, build comfort, and then reach out to people. So depending on what you're looking to do with your business, you might be looking at a mixture of tactics. And I hope that you've found that useful. That's a real kind of quick and dirty, but obviously when you're sitting down to write your plans, you can go into this in a lot more detail.